Yo, yo, yo! My name is Chris Gongora, and with me as always is my trusty little pal Jazz. Today, we're going to look at the world of visual artistry. I've always loved the art form. I've drawn and sketched pretty much all my life. For me, a great hobby to have. I went to an arts high school, the LA County High School for the Arts. And it was there that I was introduced to kids my age that were creating some unbelievable things with just some paper and some pencil, some charcoal, and some paint. I'm still friends with some of those creatives who really only got better with age and time. One of my best friends is Robert Vargas, who, besides painting some of the best and most well-known murals in Los Angeles and beyond, is also a one-of-a-kind portrait artist. His style is unique. I believe that there is no one that can do what he does, especially in the amount of time that he completes his art. Seriously. This piece right here was done in under 10 minutes, live, while I was sitting right in front of him. He's amazing. I always thought to myself, man, my boy should be a sketch artist for the police. The percentages would start to spike in catching wanted criminals, because his sketches would look exactly like those wanted criminals. Which brings me to the heart of today's topic. There's a drawing that was created in 1985, that what's seen can't be unseen. To this day, for some reason, it'll enter my brain, and I'll see a quick flash of it with every blink that I take. As I'm getting older, it doesn't quite have the same impact that it did on me when I was a kid. But I swear, thinking back to how petrified I was when I saw that drawing through the eyes of little me, I now know how the victims of Little Samara from The Ring could turn her victims from this to this just by staring at them with that mug. The drawing that I'm talking about is the police sketch of one of the most notorious serial killers in Los Angeles' dark history. I'm talking about the Night Stalker, Richard Ramirez. The man so evil that just a sketch of this monster can give a little boy nightmares. And trust me, it did. Now, with the ever-growing popularity of true crime, I'm sure a very large percentage of people out there pretty much know about Richard Ramirez. I myself am part of the target audience that eats up everything true crime, from the books to the docs. As a matter of fact, a couple years back, I actually read the book The Life and Crimes of Richard Ramirez, The Night Stalker by Philip Cardo. And it was an intense read. Reading the book and being a Los Angeles native, I could picture in my head a lot of the locales that were being mentioned in the book. Like the Greyhound bus station in downtown LA, where he would meet people and try to sell the belongings that he just stole from his victims. The same station that he arrived at the morning of the day that he was eventually caught. The Cecil Hotel, which has its own crazy history, housed Ramirez for a while during his killing spree. It said that the man would walk into the hotel with blood still splattered all over him and his clothes from a fresh kill, and no one even batted an eye. Just kind of gives you a small little glimpse to just how bonkers that place was. So I'm really not going to go into the entire walk-in killer saga that had an entire city living in fear during a hot California summer in 1985. Seriously, the terror that the whole city was experiencing was palpable. But I did want to look at one night. The evening of July 20th, 1985. That's the night that the walk-in killer did unspeakable things to not just one, but two households. He had just broken into an elderly couple's house in Glendale and killed them both. He had planned on making some sort of statement killing that evening. He wanted to take his newly purchased machete and decapitate his next victims, leaving their heads on their own front lawn for the police to find. But when he swung his machete at the man of the house, it left him with a horrific gash instead of taking off the entire head, which is what Ramirez thought would happen. His machete wasn't sharp enough. So he shot them with this .22, which sadly ended their lives in their bedroom. Now the monster was at a house just north of Glendale in Sun Valley. It was around 4:15 in the morning when he entered the Cobannon home, entering through the unlocked sliding doors that were in the back. The house was a home to a couple and their two children. The first thing he did was kill the man in the house by shooting him in the head. He then went after the wife, some kid. He tied her hands behind her back with the cord from her dryer, and then proceeded to do unimaginable things to her body, right next to the poor woman's husband's lifeless body. He then dragged her blood-soaked, naked body around the house by the hair, demanding to know where all her valuables, jewelry, and money were, all the while kicking her, slapping her, hitting her. When he was finally done, he tied her ankles together with a belt and left her on her bedroom floor as he took off. Some kid was able to then free herself, gather her children, and run to a neighbor's house for help. When talking with police about her experience, she said his eyes were like animals, wasn't human. Then she worked with LAPD sketch artist Fernando G. Ponce, and together they came up with this sketch. One of the most well-known police sketches ever. It was in all the newspapers, and was blasted all over the TV sets during every newscast. Evil now had a face. It was hard going to sleep at night, just hearing about the insanely horrific things that he was doing to people. Descriptions of the bloody scenes that they were divulging to the public were unlike anything anybody had ever heard of before. And now that there was a face attached to this monster that was doing these things, it was super hard to go to sleep at night, knowing that that dude with those gigantic alien eyes was out there. No joke, I would lie in bed with the blankets covering my entire body, including my face, I used to wrap my face with the top of the blanket, only letting my nose free so that I could breathe. I thought that a couple of covers would potentially shield me from harm. I was completely overjoyed on the day that they finally caught that dude. There was no Twitter, there was no TikTok, so we had to wait for breaking news to come over the airwaves. And when the story broke that the Night Stalker was getting recognized all over Los Angeles, after his actual picture was plastered on the fronts of every newspaper, and that he was finally caught in East LA after a group of some dope-ass locals beat the shit out of him after he tried to carjack one of their neighbor's cars. You could literally feel the jubilation flood the streets of Los Angeles. To this day, say the name Hubbard Street to someone that lived in LA during that time, it's bound to spark a memory of the Night Stalker. The day he was hit over the head with a crowbar in East Los and sat in the back of that police cruiser with that bloody bandage over his head. And whether or not you think that this sketch looks like the Night Stalker or not, for a kid living in LA and hearing the absolute evil that this man was doing to people in their own homes in the middle of the night, that picture finally gave the devil a face. So that's it. Jazzy and I will be back next week with some more stuff to talk about. That one got a little dark, huh? Wanna get out of here? Wanna get out of here? Let's get out of here.